So hey guys, what's up? We got another build today that I've parted out for you guys on PC Part Picker. Um, this is a pretty good but interesting build. This might be fit kind of a niche that people are looking for. Um, my voice has kind of been going out today. Allergies have hit me really hard. So I've got a big thing of water here, so hopefully I can get through it. But before we get into that, I want to talk about what's going on with the channel. So I've run into some issues here. So basically, I'm on a data cap. So there's only so much I can do per month. I wanted to do streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. The problem with that idea is there's no internet service provider around here that doesn't have a data cap that can give me the upload speed I need to do Twitch streaming. So basically, what it ends up is I'm going to end up more focusing on more content on YouTube and less content streaming. So probably like Friday or Saturday, once a week, I'll hop on. And I'll do that for a few hours with you guys so you can come in and chat and whatnot. But that's effectively put a thorn in my side, this data cap, which everybody else is dealing with, which is basically stifling any kind of creation I can do. Um, so that's just the way things are right now. And then to get a 1 terabyte data cap, it's like almost nearly $100 a month. It's just money I don't have right now. So hopefully this will grow and can monetize the videos that I do and help pay for that. And then I can get more content up for you guys to watch and do more events and stuff. Um, so anyways, with that, I will be doing more videos. I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to do besides just build videos. And so one thing I know I can do pretty well is I can rant about random shit that's going on across the internet. Whether it's random shit, like I could probably do a long rant right now about data caps and how stupid they are. But right now, I'm going to be doing this build video today. I'm going to be doing one on mice and keyboard and what you know, from my opinion, what you should look for when you're picking one. That's going to be a separate video. And then for that, this month I'm done because I'm hitting my data cap. I need to stop making videos. I'm not going to be Twitch streaming this weekend either, so that's just kind of unfortunate truth of it. So we're also going to do more video podcasts for Final Save Point crew and all that. I've already talked to Joe, Steve, and Janet. Hopefully I'll get Grant and some other people on board pretty soon, Mike and whatnot. Me and Mike are going to do sort of like a side podcast on our own. We'll talk about certain things. We're still talking about names and what's going to go on, so I don't have much else to talk about what's going on with that right now. But it's coming basically. So, and then I'm going to be doing basically more sort of like a layman's, I guess what the friendly way or the not so friendly way of saying it is like a noob build or a new build guide. So basically, what I'll do is I'll walk through processors, the differences in the architecture, like say Intel and AMD, what gigahertz and all that stuff is, and basically try to make it as easy as possible for people who don't know PC components real well because they are really hard to understand. I know plenty of people are mechanics and working in a car is super complicated and they can't figure out PC stuff and vice versa. You know, there's people that strangely know how to work on PCs and don't understand how cars work. Um, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through all that stuff and then just educate you guys. So when you go to build your next PC or upgrade your PC, you're more informed and able to choose the right parts for what you need. Because and you know, it's not just like it's not the kind of thing on PCs where you can just go to Walmart and expect that PC to do everything. There's certain parts that you should get for what performance you want. And speaking of that, let's move on to our build. So, I'm going to try to get through this real quick. But we've got like a combination of some expensive parts with some cheap parts. Now, This build is actually a build I made a few days ago. Like there's a couple prices that went up actually. Thankfully, my friend Grant, who I actually made this build for, has already gotten his stuff that the price changed on. So this is the part list. As always, I will put the link to the part list down in the description. So let's get started. So well, before we get started, I should explain the reason why this is such a weird build. I wanted to make a build because he's replacing an entire PC where if he wants to upgrade it in the near future, say a year or 2 years from now, he doesn't have to replace his whole PC again to do it. He's got the motherboard to do it. He's got the parts he needs. If he needs a new processor, he just buys a processor and sticks it in. If he needs a video card, he just buys the video card and sticks it in. There's really only one part that I see that might be a problem, but I don't think Grant's the type of guy to go for a Crossfire SLI on video cards. So it's probably not ever going to be a problem. Okay, drink water. Oh, I hit the wrong part. I need to go to that tab. So the first part, this is a new processor. It just came out this week, and it's getting rave reviews. It is the Intel Pentium G3258. It is, quite frankly, rather surprising for what it is. It is a Pentium processor, dual core, 2 threads, technically below an i3, but it is their it is their 20th anniversary Pentium, Intel's. And what they did is this, it doesn't have even a K signature on this to tell you it's an unlocked part, but it is an unlocked part. You can overclock the piss out of this thing, and quite frankly, crazy amounts. Most people have gotten this in for review already, like Linus Tech Tips. It has a base frequency out of the box of 3.2 gigahertz, which is really nothing to sneeze at, but not that, kind of typical for these chips. They overclocked it to 4.7, just like on a whim without like tuning the voltage or anything. Theirs went to 4.7. I sent on the reviewer. Of course, you get what's called the silicon lottery. Not all chips overclock the same, but they got 4.6. That is an amazing amount of frequency boost compared to the 3.2. That's over a gig. That's crazy. It's got some other nice features too. It's got the Intel HD graphics, which we'll talk about why that's kind of important in a second. Not great on cache or anything, but the thing that surprised me the most about this is it shows you how very little video games and PCs are actually using the cores that they're given. So before, everybody's de facto processor is the i5, and I would still suggest an i5 if you have the money to spend right off the bat. But Grant's trying to be a little bit frugal right now, and then he'll get the i5 later, or get an i7 if he wants. You can save up for something better. And that's a really smart way to go about it. And so what this is kind of surprising, at the overclock range, it's only a frame of 2 difference between an i5 and this thing. It's kind of crazy. And I'm just shocked by the results I'm seeing. Like, I had to check other sites to make sure they weren't made up. It's kind of ridiculous. And like a lot of these were done with like GTX 750 Ti's, which people say you never do with the Pentium because it'll bottleneck it. And it's like, it's obviously not bottlenecked. It's running fine. And games that were supposedly only work with more threads or more cores, like Battlefield 4, which is notorious for that, is running over 60 frames a second on a 780 Ti with this chip. It's ridiculous. So for 75 bucks, you can't go wrong. If you can't afford a $320 processor from Intel, get this one, the Phil U4. Heck, six months to a year. Wait for Broadwell to come out and upgrade to Broadwell. So yeah, it's just awesome chip. Also, the other thing I wanted to mention, it has Intel's QuickSync video technology. If you were using, say, an AMD, or you decide to choose to use an AMD video card instead of this thing, having this on board is really cool because Open Broadcaster actually supports it now, and you can actually encode your stream video through the processor's GPU instead of having to do it through the x86 cores as previously. This would not be able to do that particularly well because it's only a 2-core processor. But with the QuickSync video and it using the GPU instead to do that, now you can actually stream to Twitch or whatever you want to with this processor. Next thing is, although you can actually use the stock cooler, and people have been using the stock cooler to overclock to like this chip to 4.5, and they're still not getting any hotter than 80 degrees C. Um, we don't know when, you guys, if you choose to do this, when you might be able to upgrade. We don't know when Grant might be able to upgrade to the better chip. So we want to keep it around as long as we can. So the best way to do that is to keep the heat down. So I've decided that after looking around, we were trying to keep this as silence optimized as possible as well. We're trying to keep the case quiet so it doesn't make a whole lot of noise, whoosh, and all those kind of noise, crazy noises. Like some people I know that have 15 fans in their PC and it sounds like a wind tunnel. Anyways, you know who you are. Cheap shot. Ended up going with the Corsair Hydra H60. So basically, there's only one reason for this. The H55 and H60 actually have the same performance. The only difference being is the H60 has a static optimized pressure fan, so it can push the same amount of air through the radiator at a lower speed, which means it makes less noise. And then the pump in the block is actually different as well. It's more silence optimized. That's the only reason we went with this. Is actually picture is not correct. It's not what it currently looks like right now. I believe this is the old H60, not the current one. All right, so that was the reasoning behind that. Is basically keep his chip cool and he can have more life out of it. Now, the motherboard, on the other hand, is expensive for quite a few reasons. So the motherboard, first of all, we want a rock solid motherboard. ASUS is always rock solid. We don't want any issues with memory compatibility. You never have issues with any kind of compatibility on ASUS motherboards. He's moving over a Wi-Fi card. I don't know what kind of slot it is. I don't know if it's PCI or PCI Express. This thing's got them all. Doesn't matter. He's not the best computer person. He's kind of computer illiterate. And wow, I just like immediately got dark. There must be like a thunderstorm coming. Sorry. Just keep on pressing on. He's not the greatest at knowing how like to overclock or work with a BIOS. That's where this thing's awesome. It's got switches on the motherboard, toggle switches. He can put the Pentium in here, load his OS. Doesn't ever actually have to go into UEFI except to set his boot for his drive when he's first loading his OS in. Other than that, when he's ready to overclock, it's as easy as flipping a toggle switch on the motherboard and he's overclocked. Just like that. Same thing with his memory. His memory actually runs 1866 instead of the 1333 that you normally see on these kind of chips. Since it's unlocked, he can raise up that. It's got an XMP profile for 1866 on his memory, and there's a switch on this that they call Smart XMP. You flip the switch, now you're at 1866. You never even had to go into the BIOS. The motherboard is also littered with LEDs all over it. So say something's wrong with the CPU, instead of trying to figure out spending a couple hours figuring out what's wrong with the motherboard or CPU, there's a little red LED light indicator turns on in an area, tells you exactly what's going on. So if there's something wrong with your memory, you'll see a red LED light come on the memory. CPU, TPU, Southbridge, PCI Express, all that stuff is covered. The other thing is the case he's getting, I don't know if it has 3-pin or 4-pin fans in it. He wants to keep them quiet. He wants to control them. This thing will do fan control through either DC or PWM. Doesn't matter. Smart Control 3 will work. It's got 6 fan headers. Plenty enough for him to put on there and run his water cooler and everything. He's good to go. So, and then it's got other niceties like Intel NIC. It's got Crystal Sound 2 is what they call it. It's just a Realtek chip, but they've added like an audio path with like Japanese Nichicon audio capacitors, which are high-grade audio capacitors. And it's got a little bit of amplification. So say if he wants to go for audio grade headphones in the future, they're like, $200-300. He can go up to like 150, 200 ohms with this thing, and it will still power them just fine. Typically, you get 32 ohm headphones. Like the headphones I use when I stream are 32 ohms. And of course, it will support the Pentium and overclock it all to hell because this thing's got crazy good power. I don't know. There's probably about a dozen other reasons I can say why he should have this board over anything else, let alone that when Broadwell comes out next year, Intel's new chip, he can just throw that in there too, and then he's done. He doesn't have to worry about getting a new board. So let's see. Memory, Kingston HyperX Fury, 8 GB kit. It's 1866, like I said. It is red, so it doesn't really match a color scheme on the motherboard, but the case he got doesn't have a window, so in this case I went for a little bit of extra performance than that. 1866 over 1600 isn't like much of a difference in performance, but say later on he wants to get himself 2 more sticks and add them in. He's got himself 2 more sticks. He's got a little bit better speed. It'll help like in video editing or whatever he decides to do with this machine later on. So just trying to see the perceivable future. PNY XLR 8, 120 gig SSD. We went with 120 gig because it is super cheap. It's $60. It's got 500 read and 475 write. This is not your typical SSD. This is a performance SSD. This is better than the budget grade SSDs you usually see that have like a write speed of 130 or 200 megabytes per second. This thing will just fly. It is awesome. It's enough memory for him to have his OS on it and his other apps, and then he can use data caching to the SSD, and so like when he's playing a game, it'll load portions of the game onto this drive, and it'll load it just like an SSD would. Now when he goes to move something else on, it'll push that off, like say he gets to a new game, and then that other game will load a little bit slower the first time, and then once it's cached, it'll load fast subsequently every other time after that. So that's kind of how the caching thing works. Yeah, just great drive. If you're choosing this build and say 120 isn't enough for you, you can actually get the same exact PNY drive and a 240 gig configuration for $100, which is still a killer price for that amount of SSD storage. For the hard drive, don't have much to say. It is a Western Digital 1 terabyte blue hard drive. It's the same one everybody's been going to for a cheap 1 terabyte hard drive for the past couple years. I've been using it in my own machine for 2 years now, ever since it came out, and it's still running like a champ. I haven't had any issues with it. There were people complaining that it was breaking down on them when it first came out. It was more of a problem with Newegg, just sticking this thing in a cardboard box without any padding and stuff and shipping it out, so it was getting knocked around and stuff and shipping. Newegg has since changed the way they ship it, and I'm sure these guys will ship it just fine too. If not, it's not going to be an issue to exchange it. Right here, well, I should show you this page first. So for the video card, we ended up going with a EVGA GeForce GTX 750 Ti for a couple of reasons. One of the main reasons is in case Grant he's got a older monitor right now. He plans on upgrading it soon. So that's part of the reason why I tried to think about what video card to get him. So long story short, we had a conversation the other night, and when we were talking about this build, and for him, he just wants his games to run smooth. He doesn't care so much about the little extras and graphics and stuff, and I kind of agree with him. I'm the same way. I'm a bit more of a graphics whore. I do have a certain threshold. So for me, I want a 760. For him, we chose a 750 Ti. It's going to run everything in 1080p on medium-high settings, and it's going to be plenty enough for him, good frame rates. It's got the benefit of shadow play, so if he ever wants to do Twitch streaming or just record stuff or something like that on the whim, it's got the built-in encoder, he can do that. But the other main thing is like I said, he's talking about getting a monitor sooner and later. And I told him about G-Sync. And not only G-Sync, but now AMD's got their FreeSync, which has been passed on the VESA standard. And so you need DisplayPort 1.2 for both of those to work. So to give you an idea of what it is, basically, when you play a game with VSync off, VSync will cause tearing, but you have no lag between what you're doing on your mouse and keyboard. With VSync on, now it's delaying the frame because all monitors run at 60 hertz, so they refresh 60 times per second. And that denotes too, if you want that to be completely smooth and lag-free on your computer, you need to have your game with VSync on run at 60 frames a second all the time, which is not possible because games don't work that way. You know, certain games take longer to draw certain frames than others. So you get like in 48 and 50, and with VSync on, now you're getting more and more lag on your input compared to what you're seeing on screen. On controller, it's a little bit different because game engines typically pair the calls to the controller, like asking the controller what it's doing per frame on the engine, as opposed to the other way. It's kind of like the way that the consoles have gotten around the lag issue, but PCs very much call, you know, 125, 500, or 100 times per second to your mouse and keyboard, so you get this lag issue. What G-Sync does is if the game's running at 48 frames a second, your screen refreshes at 48 frames a second. So you don't get any tear, you don't get any lag, and that's basically what it does. I think it's worth the money, and it's also what FreeSync's going to do when it comes out. It'll come out a little bit later, I believe, but he's still going to need that display port. So as you can see here on the back, all the 750 Ti's I've run into so far, which some of them have been pretty good, and some have even clocked higher, have had a VGA port, a DVI port, and an HDMI port, but no display port. So this has a display port. It does come with the little adapter, so you can plug it into his current monitor, which is a VGA monitor. So it's not going to be an issue. And he doesn't have to worry about plugging it into power or anything like that complicated. He just has to put it in a slot, and then he's got enough power to run it. And this thing, crazily enough, even off the PCI power, will still overclock even more and not heat up very much. Maxwell's a very, very efficient architecture. NVIDIA's using. Please don't kill me, NVIDIA. It's been a long day. So yeah, I mean, and it's got some extras. It comes with like some in-game currency for like Warface and Path of Exile and stuff. So if you're into that. So that's the route we decided to go, and that's the reasons I decided for the EVGA one, let alone that their, you know, warranty's pretty good. I've never had an issue with the EVGA so far. If I've had an issue, it's like, oh, okay, we'll send you one out right away, and you can send yours back in like a week or something. Like they'll send me a replacement before I send mine back. It's kind of crazy. So let's finish this up real quick. Like I said, this is a silence optimized PC, so we got a silence optimized case. So this is the Fractal Design R4 Pearl Black. It's got USB 3.0 and all that nice stuff, and it is on a little bit of a sale until the beginning of July, it looks like. I love this case. I use it myself. It's got plenty of spots for fan mounts. Say you're running like Crossfire and you need like another intake fan to keep your fan cool, or you want one to suck out or whatever. Comes with really good fans already. Probably what I'll do is have him take the intake fan out here and put another one in the front, and then we'll use this spot for his water cooling solution. It's got a built-in fan controller, which doesn't really matter because his motherboard does that pretty well already, but just in case, you know, like he could have this for 10 years, I don't know. Maybe he wants to go to a different motherboard, so then he's got a fan controller, which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to say. Tons of hard drive space. So as you can see here, you can fit 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. I don't think he's going to hit that many hard drives, but if he does, he's got plenty of space for it. And these are metal. A lot of times these are plastic, these hard drive brackets, so that's really extra nice. Painted all the way in now with a powder coat, which is pretty sturdy stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's just a solid case. Got dust filters on the front for the air intake, and it's got dust filter on the bottom for the power supply. So he doesn't have to worry about any kind of animal hair or anything like that getting into his case. It will get filtered out. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. It comes with all the tools and stuff that he needs to put his board in there. And then he actually has this already, but I included this in the build. This is a EVGA 500B power supply, and he's pretty much told me this thing is like dead silent. It doesn't make any noise, so I thought that would just be good to include in here, and it's still kind of cheap. So it doesn't have all the greatest components, but still has pretty good components. So anyways, like I said, and why aren't you working? There we go. I will have links to this build in the description below. I will try to do another video today, although it's getting pretty dark and I'm losing daylight, although my face looks like it's glowing, so maybe it's not an issue. It will be an issue when I try to shoot the mouse video and stuff. So anyways, I will keep you guys informed of what's going on Twitter. Follow me at Cell Processing on Twitter. I will be permanently putting stuff here on the Final Save Point channel. We'll be trying to do a lot more YouTube stuff, like I said, a little bit less live stream stuff in the next coming months. I want to try to do about 5 videos a week, so we'll see how that does, and if I hit my bandwidth cap or not. So we'll try that. Maybe I'll go down to 3 or something. Caps are stupid. And I have nothing else to say. It's been one of those days. So you guys have yourself a good day. I'll try to have one. I'm going to blow something up on the video screen. And I will see you later. Y'all take care.